What is going on, and welcome fellow fans of Clash of Clans. It is your host Galadon, and I've got some breaking news. Okay, maybe it's not completely breaking news anymore, but it is something that a lot of people have been asking me about in the YouTube comments and live stream comments, and initially I wasn't going to make a video covering the subject until I got some additional information, because I didn't just want to be that YouTuber that just says, oh, Supercell's Clash of Clans banned, and then doesn't really have anything to back it up. Something interesting, something that's a little bit more in depth. So in today's episode, I will give you the exact story as to why this happened, how it happened, and exactly what it is. Is it a ban of players? That sort of thing. And yes, I'll also provide resources so that you could go read up in more depth if you choose to do so. But if you don't, if you just want to hang out, then you can watch some amazing Tribe Academy 3 stars from this past season of CWL while I talk about this ban. Now, I did try to get into a Vietnamese clan to show some Vietnamese players attacking during the episode. It didn't work out. Might be a language barrier, but unfortunately, I don't know any Vietnamese players in Vietnamese clans. So, we've got Tribe Academy on the screen, and here it is. Okay, so, yes, banned. Is it really a ban? Players are coming onto my streams and saying, Galadon, is it true that Supercell is banning all Clash of Clans players in Vietnam? And no, that is not the case. So what this all stemmed from is just recently Supercell posted this information and said, quote, they have decided to discontinue offering our games in Vietnam. And the reason given, the only reason given, is again, quote, local regulatory issues. So what does that mean? What is going on? Now, so obviously, Supercell is not banning the players. In fact, in that same statement, Supercell encourages Vietnamese players to link their accounts to Supercell ID so that they can recover the account if in the future they are able to offer Supercell games again in Vietnam, or perhaps that they move out of Vietnam and can play the game somewhere else. Not sure what other situations, but at least they know that their account will continue to exist on the servers. The players are not banned. It's due to regulatory issues within Vietnam. Now, I will get to those specific regulatory issues in just a moment, but let's talk a little bit about the history of online video gaming and countries and their movement toward restricting it. Now, I'm not going to go into the political part of it. I'm not going to make this an opinion piece. I will leave that for you guys to decide, and of course, you're welcome to go down and discuss it in the comments. So yes, there is a history of different countries applying different regulations and limiting the amount of gaming that can take place, the amount of information that can be gathered, especially by these gaming companies and internet service providers when it comes to people under the age of 18. So way back in 2011, Vietnam actually banned online gaming after 10 p.m. The Vietnamese government imposed a nationwide regulation that did not allow anybody, adult or under 18, to play video games after 10 p.m. But at that time, it appears from what I could read, and again, I have a link to the article down below in the comments if you want to read up on it, it appears that the responsibility was placed on the internet service provider rather than the individual game developers, in that it was up to the ISP, the company that provided you that connectivity, to limit this. And it actually said that the country would be penalizing internet service providers who failed to comply with that regulation. And that's a key point of this law, and it applies to what's happening right now. And we'll get back to that in just a moment. But what that is at that time, the regulation focused on the ISP and not the game developer. Now, there have been many other regulations that have been instituted by other countries that restrict online gaming and information when it comes to the internet. Obviously, China has some laws, and of course, the United States. Congress passed a law back in '98 that took effect in 2000 called COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And that's one of the reasons that you'll notice, if you've ever read the Supercell Terms of Service, that no one under the age of 13 is permitted to play a Supercell game. So if you know anybody that is under 13 that's playing a Supercell game, I'll give you a minute to go take their device away from them. All right, I'll hold on. Okay, no, we all clear? Okay, good. And if you want to go read more about COPPA, again, the link is down in the description. It is a massive set of laws that cover internet privacy, even marketing that certain game developers can do, and of course, parental consent and how much information can and must be gathered by game developers. And so that's where we get down to the exact story behind what happened in Vietnam and why Supercell has pulled their games from the country completely. So I went ahead and did some digging, and I talked to one of my friends at Supercell, and they referred me here. And well, that's the same page that I've already seen. And so, okay, so what I did was I went to my super secret Supercell friend. This is an employee at Supercell that the Supercell employees don't even know works there. He's like double secret Supercell agent, you know? And he replied with this information. Wait, that's the same. All right, so anyway, Supercell's official statement is this official statement, and they are not saying another word. Now, I'm guessing this has to do with some sort of ongoing either negotiation or possibly litigation where they're not going to say a word. I mean, there's no way. There's no other information that we're going to get right now. But, and it's a big but, I was able to dig up this article with my help from, yes, that's right, a dedicated live stream viewer, Kitty COC. Meow, thank you, Kitty. This is information that I can really get into. And this specifically talked about the new regulations that were applied in Vietnam recently that covered online gaming. And this is most likely, now I can't say for sure, but this seems to be the most likely reason why Supercell no longer has their games in Vietnam. So this is a lengthy article. Again, I will provide the link down in the description, not only to give credit to the original writers of the article, but also if you guys want to go read it in depth and research it, it is there. Okay, so in these new conditions for online gaming, apparently you've got video games online that are divided into 4 different categories: G1, G2, G3, and G4. G1 games are games, and I quote this, games in which multiple players simultaneously interact with each other and the main server. Games such as multiplayer online role-playing games fall under this category. So based upon my understanding, it seems like Clash of Clans would fall under this because you've got interaction with other players, obviously in clans and global chat, and obviously the server as well. So Clash of Clans, a G1 game qualified as the Vietnam regulations define. And these are the new conditions that are being introduced that it appears makes it basically impossible for a game like Clash of Clans to exist without major changes in Vietnam. And the first condition is, and I'm going to quote this, again, you can read the entire article if you want, systems that provide gaming services should be able to store and update users' personal information. Now that's something that obviously Clash of Clans doesn't currently do, nor do any of the Supercell games. And to be honest, that sounds like a huge undertaking to gather personal information about every single player that plays the game in the country. Okay, that's just part 1. Then part 2 says that gaming companies should also be able to manage the playing time of a user, ensuring that the total playing time of all G1 games by a company should not be more than 180 minutes per day for a user who is under the age of 18. So what they're saying is all gaming companies that make these G1 games have to make sure that anybody who is under 18 cannot play for more than 3 hours a day. And okay, so whether you agree with that or disagree with it, whatever the case may be, here is the key difference between this regulation and the one that passed in 2011. The regulation from 2011 put the onus, the responsibility, on the internet service provider. This regulation from 2019 puts that responsibility on the game developers themselves. So you can see where now it suddenly becomes this big issue. There has to be a functionality in the game to know exactly how old every single player is that plays your game, and to figure out a way to stop them from playing longer than 3 hours and divide them between adults and everybody else who is under 18 and then limit the playtime. So that seems to be, it reasonably makes sense that that is why Supercell has pulled their games from Vietnam. Now let me just reiterate, okay, I do not work for Supercell. I am not a representative of Supercell. This video is in no way related to Supercell in any way, shape, or form, and anything I say here, it's like those disclaimers you see everywhere else. These words are my own, and they're not of anybody else, and I'm not representing any other company or anything like that. So I'm just going with the information that I was able to find. Again, thanks to Kitty COC, we got some additional information, and it seems to be reasonable. I mean, we can kind of deduce that that is what's happening, and that's why you're not going to be able to play Supercell games in Vietnam. And it sounds like a lot of other online games are going to have issues as well, unless they put this regulation, this functionality in the game to limit playing time. So yes, it's unfortunate, and I feel bad for all of our Vietnamese players who are going to be without their Clash Royale, Clash of Clans, Brawl Stars, or even, of course, Heyday and Boom Beach. But maybe at some point in the future, regulations will change, an agreement will be reached, something will be added to the game. I really don't know. I have no idea if anything right now is going on behind the scenes to address this or not. It just seems like Supercell is very, very tight-lipped about it. So it makes me think that there's something that's happening, but I just don't know what that is. So that's the news. That is all the information that I have. I can't provide anything else, so please don't ask me any questions down in the comments unless you have more information yourself. Then feel free to drop it down there. And as long as we're on the subject of banned accounts, okay, I cannot help you with any other banned accounts. And I can also tell you this, based upon the information that I know, if your account was actually banned, which is different than what's happening here in Vietnam, if you received a message from Supercell that your account was permanently banned, it means it's permanent and it will never be lifted, okay? And that has always applied as far as I know. That's the way that things have worked. So just, you know, just let this serve as a message to everybody else out there to be careful. Don't do things that violate the terms of service. Don't try to buy or sell an account or share it with somebody else or do anything to give yourself an unfair advantage because, hey, many of us have been playing this game for years and years and years, and to lose an advanced Clash of Clans account would be painful, to say the least. So let's just get out there and play the game fair, have fun, follow the rules, and just try to get better at Clash every single day. That's what I'm trying to do. Thank you guys, as always, for watching all the way to the end of the episode. You are the true #GalFam, and I appreciate every last one of you. Now get out there and appreciate the rest of your day. Be kind to each other, be kind to animals, be easy on the planet, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow for more full attacks.
Galidon! That's a bit of a downer. I don't like it at all.